Good afternoon, Nova, Pierre Louis. You are the head of operations and co-organizer at TEDx in Montclair. And Katarina Rodriguez, head of marketing, also at TEDx Montclair. I'm super excited to have you on because I attended the TEDx talk in Montclair, and I thought it was an outstanding event. I noticed it months before on Instagram, on social media. Cohesive graphics, a solid concept, and the venue was just beautiful. The speakers were very convincing. It was clear that they had rehearsed like very well. The vibe, the lighting, the whole event was just spot on. So I'm very impressed, and I'm super excited to have you on. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're very happy to be here. We're always happy to hear the feedback of everyone. Well, because organizing an event, we're just behind the scenes all the time. We don't get to enjoy what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So whenever we get to hear people explain their experience, we're like, oh my gosh, yay!
Yeah.
Our labor, came to fruition. So we're
Yes.
very happy to be here.
Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on. I remember you said at the event that you went from idea to final event in 9 months. So how was it to have that TEDx baby, and how did you come about that? But first, I want to hear a little bit more about who you are and how you know each other.
Nova and I actually attended Montclair State University. We met in the last class of our graduating semester of our undergrad. We both were very enthusiastic people. We always loved conversating about interesting topics, and overall just like really curious about the world and things like that. And so that's how originally we met. And we are currently pursuing our MBAs over at Montclair as well. So
Finishing in like 2 weeks.
yeah, finishing in like 2
Oh,
weeks.
whoa.
Yeah. So that's our origin story, and we actually both love TEDx as a whole. She's actually given a TEDx before, and I've just always loved watching them. From ones with Yara Shahidi, Steve Lacy, things like that. So that's a little bit about us.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of really funny whenever I try to think about how this all started.
Mhm.
And it was a random Tuesday.
Yeah.
Very random. And we're talking about, we always talk about so many different things. And then the conversation just ended on TEDx. And I remember Katarina saying how she always wanted to do one while she was in middle school or
in high school,
and how there was a lot of, it was very difficult to do at this stage of her life.
And it was during COVID.
Yes.
So
So I was like, wait, we have time. We did it, but
Free
we're
will.
like, yeah, free will. Why don't we do it right now?
Mhm.
And then if you know us, if you know who we are, we have an idea. We're going to implement it that day. So that same day we had this conversation. It was a very like jokey thing.
Mhm.
We applied for the license, which, we can talk about how this whole process was.
Mhm.
So the moment we said, let's do it, we started putting the pieces together. The dominoes started falling, and here we are.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm very impressed to hear that you got that idea on that Tuesday and you took action on that Tuesday. I think that's many of us can learn from that, because sometimes we just wait for years and without taking action, nothing happens.
Yeah.
That is definitely something that I've always tried to get myself to learn, to be able to stop over strategizing and just do. Earlier in my life, I would always, overthink an idea, either that is in business or like any project that I want to do. I would just overthink it to the point where I get paralyzed and actually not do anything. So I think the strategy for me and for the people who are actually in my community is that, once we have the idea, we feel convicted about the idea, we think we're making an impact, there's an opportunity there, we just go for it.
In that same vein, I think people have when they are really determined towards a goal, they tend to overthink their ideas so much, re-strategizing just the outcomes, how it can be or how it's perceived. And I think we took a completely different route with this. We kind of knew we had an idea and just put forward with it. So I think that really has helped us and has been really shown throughout this whole process, because it's been 9 months of just go, go, go. So yeah.
You mentioned that you've done a TED Talks before?
Yes, I have. I don't really remember which year it was because I feel like the past 5 years of my life have been, just go, go, go. But I believe it was around 2021. I've actually never told anyone about this. The first year when I applied, I got rejected. And then I'm an immigrant. I just came from back from came from Haiti. I'm Haitian. Came to the US, and then I saw the opportunity to do the TEDx. I applied without really knowing like the different it was a very ambitious talk where like I thought I was going to change the world, blah 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 blah. So it came off a little, it was just not the perfect talk for the theme basically. And I applied that year and got rejected, and I was like, I'm never going to do it again. I went through all my phases.
Yeah.
And the next year, the opportunity came again, and I applied, and then I got accepted. The theme of my talk was about future shock, because the theme of that TED was about the future. And I
Okay.
this concept of being so afraid of the future that we get paralyzed or we're unable to do things. I was talking about young people today and how they're paralyzed to make decisions because of everything happening in the world, and how we can help as older people or as adults or as people who have experience or people who already figured life out. And I shared my story from my experience in Haiti, and how so many times I was unable to make choices, and how people in my life have helped me um, make the choices that I need to make. So that's the backstory of it.
I love that. And then you meet up on a Tuesday, and then you get this idea. So I would love to hear a little bit more about how you moved into action on that Tuesday, and how you kept that momentum, and then you have a final amazing event 9 months after. I would love to hear a little bit more about how you went from idea to final event.
Yeah. It took a lot of planning, to say the least, as much as we talk about the spontaneity of it. There's a lot.
No, it wasn't just like day one and day 100.
Yeah. This event came in multiple stages. First, it was shock that we actually got the license and were able to pursue a theme that Nova and I are products of, and also are really passionate about. And then I would say it really went into the planning stage, because in my mind, yes, things can go like really fun and things like that, but we always need to have a plan when doing, because that's the only way we're gonna create awesome things like this. So I would say at first, Nova and I really just nailed down our theme. Like, what does that look like in all aspects of this event? From the brochure that you got with the details of
Yeah.
You have everything.
I
love that.
Yeah. So what does that look like? What do we want the event to feel like? And that really drove us as to the end product that we got. We knew we wanted to be fresh and inviting. We knew we want it to be impactful as well. So I think that's really what drove us throughout this whole event. And like I said, Nova and I are products of social mobility, the domino effect. So I think that was also a really big key component, because we knew how much this means to us and what the potential it has to do for other people. So that's a little bit of a overview of that, but like in detail, I think the communication that Nova and I had week to week, it's kind of like check in on each thing, like how's the venue looking? How's the search going? What graphics do we need in the immediate future and 3 months from now? So all the details, counting your coins every day. So
yeah, to kind of piggyback of what Katarina was saying, she mentioned how this happened in all stages. To give you that background or that perspective, the first stage was applying for the license. That took about I think
2 months.
2 months to get a result. So yeah, we got a result.
We had to give them the whole rundown as to when do we want our event to be, to how many people are we looking to have, to
what are some examples of talks under that theme, which was very interesting, because this was our first time applying for a TEDx license. So they asked us for all of that, and then they also let us know that it's okay if this is a draft, because again, it was that Tuesday. So we were just like, okay, we really care about X topic, which was social mobility. What could we have be a product of that theme? So we applied that Tuesday. 2 months had passed. By that time, we were just like, I don't think during those 2 months we were like actively planning, because again, we didn't want to like get a rejection and then we're like, let's do it.
The plan,
right? So the 2 months we didn't do really much, and then we got the approval around Thanksgiving.
Halloween.
We got the approval, and then that's when we started. Okay, we need to plan. The first thing that we did, or the different phases is telling people that this is happening in the town, opening the applications. All of this happened, or refining the theme, solidifying it. We didn't have Domino Effect as a title until like December. So
Okay.
really like solidifying it before we start putting it on the market, because this is what we were going to go until the end of the event. So we solidified that from around Thanksgiving to December. We didn't really have a December break. People were going on Christmas. We were just there grinding, hustling. So we solidified the theme. The first thing that we created in terms of outside or external presence of the talk was the social media, the Instagram, the LinkedIn, and our website. Because once we solidified the theme, we knew that the first plan of action is really to start getting people to apply. And we knew that at first we wanted to have this in May. That was the original plan. And then we were like, okay, we got to push this out. We got to push this to July. So
because we got like an overwhelming amount of applicants. And so obviously we didn't want to just skim an application and move on. We really wanted to be intentional with it. So that took
quite some time,
a decent amount of time.
So applied in around late September, early October, got the approval around Thanksgiving. From Thanksgiving to New Year's, created social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, website. First week of January, launched it to the community. This is happening, start applying. That's when we also launched our newsletter. And then we gave about a month and a half for the applications to come in. Around that time, Katarina and I are trying to nail down sponsors. We're trying to nail down the venue. We're trying to nail down anything that needs to be nailed down. Basically, come February, we created a selection process because we wanted to make sure that we believe in blind recruiting, which is, recruiting people based on the actual talk as opposed to, oh, I know so-and-so, or this person would fit in this area. We just really fully went based on talk. We had a whole tracking system, a score point system. I really felt like a data analyst at that point. So we did that.
I would also say the reason, because you're probably like, blind recruiting, why would you do that with such a well-known event and there's so many posh people in town? I think it's also just because we knew this was the first ever TEDx Montclair to happen in town. We really wanted to build it from the ground up and just go from there and have a clear slate with things, because we did get people recommending and things like that. And yes, that's a avenue of getting through the application process, but we knew there's just so many other different forms of talent and voices that needed to be heard throughout that.
So application February, it was a lot. We have over 300 people apply from all over the world. It was very, very interesting. I'm like, how do you know about TEDx Montclair?
I know a lot of people questioned, like, is it just Montclair locals that can apply and things like that? We didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves in that because we knew how tight knit town is. So
obviously, if you are in Montclair and like, once you go to that final stage of like, okay, these are the main speakers we're gonna pick. Obviously, like, okay, you're more likely to come to our training or rehearsals because you're here. Those are point systems that get accredited to you because you're around town. You'll be here at all of our rehearsals, as opposed to if you're in Nigeria or somewhere else, you have to take that flight. So those are all the things that we had to think about.
It's important to know that you did this while probably also have jobs and doing your studies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So TEDx in general, the brand is a nonprofit organization. So it completely is grassroots. It relies on sponsorship, donations, things like that. Like going to like an art museum or something like that. Like they always request for a donation. So yeah, that was what we were doing. Full-time jobs, night school, all that on top of it.
And then you had to do a lot of it without funding yet, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was
hard.
That was definitely
one of the challenges.
A fun challenge, I would say. Because it's kind of like, I'm sure a lot of people know what TED is, but do you know what TEDx is?
TEDx is an organization under TED. The X means independently organized event from TED. So the X is basically the collaboration. So TED is collaborating with Montclair, but TEDx Montclair is a byproduct, or it's under TED. Does that make sense? Or
yeah.
It's a sister organization of TED. So we operate under the same rules as a TED event, but
locally.
Yes. So basically, TED gives its licenses to local organizers, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So it also comes with, I'm sure, a whole list of requirements and some rules you have to operate within. So how much framework were you giving from TED?
I would say a lot of rules and a lot of really good guidance as to what can be permitted and things like that, because obviously we get a lot of questions as to like what can we talk about in our talks and what can't we. So that was a really good outline to offer people. The guidelines really set us up for success because it offers just so much insight as to how to go about things, how to mitigate certain situations and things like that. So they gave us a lot of guidance throughout this, and I'm really glad that they have. Because we are the first established TEDx event in town, so we're in the process of developing our repertoire. So yeah, I can't say that it happened just between Nova and I. You know, we've worked with people that we trust, advisors, things like that, just to help us out throughout this all. So
Have you spoken to someone that have organized a TEDx event somewhere else?
Yes, one of our advisors on the team had organized or been involved in like 5 different TEDx. This would have been the 6th. They're not specifically local to Montclair, but they're like the next town over, basically. So we've had really good guidance from all areas, whether that is in speaker selection or just how to make this better. So we're very, very glad and grateful for all the people and volunteers that have made this happen.
How did you go about doing the visual identity, and how did you find graphic designers, and how did you settle on the theme, and then how did you craft the visual identity around that theme?
Nova and I are products of social mobility, and it's like second nature to us. And the people that we are around, you know, as a daughter of immigrants and as a first generation immigrant living in a society that has offered so many resources to us, advocating for the marginalized groups that we're a part of, it really hit home for us. And it wasn't just something that I really want to emphasize that it's not something that we see trending or, you know, is very popular right now. It's something that really hits home for both Nova and I, not just academically, professionally, but personally as well. And we know Montclair is a really good hub for social mobility and overall the domino effect, as you will.
Yeah.
From the small businesses that we have, from the different clinical offices that we hold as well. It's all around us that a helping hand is visible, and just also the different communities that Montclair represents, from the Pride Parade to other organizations around. So we thought no better place to have this than Montclair because of how it reflects upon its community. As far as the visual identity and branding goes, we had an amazing team of graphic designers, you know. They have killed it like out of the park. And so I give all of my flowers to them. Obviously, I have developed like kind of a mood board and like a vision as to what we want to see. You know, we want something forward thinking, not something that's just currently popular, approachable, relatable, something that really encompasses the meaning of social mobility and the domino effect, something inviting, helpful, and things of that nature.
Yeah, I was gonna add, I think one of the first conversations, especially, you know, early on when we were even deciding, okay, what roles are we gonna take and like where are we best served? I remember having this conversation with Katarina is that if there's one thing that I want with our visual identity or how we look or how we're perceived, is that I want you to have fun with it. So she messages that to her team as well. Have fun with it. So a lot of this has been, there's a lot that we even did or the team even like did or put together that did even see the light of day because, you know, either, you know, we didn't have the time or the resources to put them up, you know, and stuff like that. But there's so many different creative things that were happening because at the end of the day, yes, this is something very community focused, but it's also very like personal development, creativity happening in our own lives. So I remember the first rule out of all of it when it comes to marketing or how we're communicating the event, the designs behind it, or like the feel of it, is that they want to see that we're having fun with it.
I think often or like what I during my research of like TEDx events and what they look like and things like that. I just saw the constant use of black and red and white, like that constant brand image, and I knew that's something I didn't want for our event. I wanted it to be fun, approachable, and things like that, and really not mitigate the overall TEDx branding, but complement it really well, and bring that feel to it.
Being a graphic designer myself, I think you guys and your team did an outstanding job. It was very cohesive, very fresh. It definitely looked like you had fun. I think the first time I saw something about TEDx was a flyer in a window, and then I think I went on to the Instagram, and it definitely it looked fun and compelling. And I like also how you brought some other colors in. I like at the event you had some hand-drawn signs, which was pretty awesome. And you had the big sign, of course, but it looked cohesive, true to the TEDx brand, but also it had some fresh elements to it. And I really think you did a great job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think here, I know it's the first one, so it's kind of hard to envision, but we want to change that every year. Like, you're not going to see those colors next year.
Yeah.
We want it to be very unique to each theme each year. Yes, we can always rely on that black and red, like always, but we want to bring it always a different feel every year.
Yeah.
Like a series, kind of. Yeah.
How did you find your designers?
Yeah, so fun fact, they're all volunteers, actually.
Okay. Amazing.
So we kind of did a call for volunteers, whatever area you see fit, whatever area you want to grow in, and things like that. We lended an opportunity to our community to get involved. And actually, I would say in our first 10 maybe applicants for a volunteer position, because our whole team is volunteer. So like my social media team, the graphic design team, the people that were there the day of event, and things like that. It's all volunteered based. But I actually met it was the first graphic designer that had applied for the volunteer position. And I had no knowledge of her. I looked at her website. I was like, this is amazing. Soon to find out, we literally go to the same school. So we met up and the rest was history. I was like, it was just so evident the passion she had to get involved and what she's done in her past. Like, it was absolutely incredible. And I knew it's exactly what we wanted for TEDx Montclair. So that's how we kind of heard about her initially. And then as far as our other team, it was really word of mouth based community, and who knew who, and things like that.
And also seeing what we've already created, they felt, because I like to joke that we didn't find them, they found us.
Yes.
Because, it really, I feel very proud of what we created. And I feel like that attracts the good people. And that attracts, talent as well.
Yeah, because we originally created our website. So like all the graphics and things like that on our website is totally Nova and I based. And like Nova said, they must have been attracted to what they saw both there and on socials. So yeah, good things attract good people. So
yes. So with this pretty big team, as I can hear, you have a lot of people. How did you organize? How did you meet? Did you have a Slack group? Did you have Zoom meetings? Did you meet on Google Meet? Did you have any in-person meetings, or was it all done virtual?
Well, okay, so I am type A, so I like everything to be to a T. And I think that's why I had a lot of fun. I handled everything organization wise. So I was trying to figure out how can I best serve the different type of people we had. We didn't have like a big team, but we had a resourceful team. And also because we knew this was volunteer based, we had to know how to manage our ask, because again, people are giving us their free time and their free talent. Like, how do we manage it to the point where we're not like
manage it, but also make it useful for them?
Yes. That was actually good. That was one of our deal with them, with the graphic designers or anybody who joined our team. How can we make this worth it for you? You need a recommendation for your job, for your internship. We got you. You need this, etc. We tried
portfolio building.
Yes, we tried to give as much as we could. That is not monetary, because again, we did not have the money. So we tried to make it worthwhile. But to answer your question, yes, we had everything from Slack, Google Meet, meetings. Trello has been where we house everything. without revealing too much, just letting you know that there was a lot of organization behind the scenes, and also a lot of contact or communication channels that were there to ensure that everybody had the support that they need. And obviously, this was our first time. There's a lot of growth to happen there. And we did pretty good. We did pretty good. Yeah, I do say so myself.
Yeah. I think also the whole like organization conversation, it's like we didn't want to be, I know there's different ways you can organize people, obviously, but we knew we did not want to be like helicopter parents or on top of these people all the time, breathing down their necks for us, like Nova said. So we tried to make it as hands-on, hands-off, collaborative as possible. So
if you ask any of our designers, which is a very interesting process that we're also learning, is that some people, or I think this whole podcast is about how to manage people or how to do business with people. And I think one of the biggest learnings is that, some people want you to tell them exactly what to do. Others are very in love with the idea of like, oh, that's your vision, I'm gonna run with it. So we try to have a very collaborative approach. This is the outcome I want from it. I want people to see X and think, oh my gosh, I need to buy a ticket. Do with that what you will. Here's some examples that I really liked. Do with that what you will. So a lot of organizations, but also we created a space that all ideas and also welcomes just like
change,
collaborative
suggestion,
everything.
Yeah.
So you also had to kind of figure out how people work the best, like who wanted to be like very clear direction, who wanted some more free space.
Yes.
And so when there were a decision to make, did you then go in and say, okay, now we're going to make a decision, we're going to go this way?
So the way the process is, Katarina and I would tell them the vision. Here's the deadline, put everything on Trello or wherever it needs to be. First draft is being shared with us. And then we give, if we have any notes, we give it. If we don't, we run with it. If we do have notes, they go back to the drawing board, sends it again. And then, okay, this is the one.
I think also I know that sounds like a lot of steps, but what I think, what I think made it so seamless is that we cultivated such an open and safe space with our team. Not everyone's open to suggestion sometimes. So it's like, how do we subconsciously allow that to happen with these people that we've never met before 9 months ago? So I think that's a really big key. And it seems like it takes forever with the amount of steps that Nova listed, but I think it was really seamless.
Hey, do you think it takes a lot of steps?
It sounds like you was one of these people that have 48 hours in one day. So it does seem like a lot, and it's impressive that you have gone through all of those steps while juggling all these other things. I want to talk about how you selected the speakers.
I think it goes back to like that blind picking. We had a committee about 4 to 5 people that helped narrow down such a wide pool of speakers. And we all looked through it blindly for the criteria that we had to follow, as far as like, which is like on the TED website, like no politics, no bad language and things like that. But also those are like the preliminary things, but also like content itself, because you don't want someone just talking about why they love going to their local corner store or something like that, but like actually meaningful things and something that allowed our viewers to leave the event with feeling convicted and impacted.
So that was the biggest thing. There were a lot of amazing talks. We actually initially wanted to just pick 6 people. We ended up picking 8. We had TED doesn't give us a number or whatever. We choose the number, and based on what the vision we had, we initially thought let's just pick 6 people. But again, 8 people amazed us, and we picked all. The biggest thing on top of the list of criteria that we personally created, and then TEDx, TED's requirements. One thing that we really wanted, and especially the type of people Katarina and I are, we like action-oriented things. For example, we're not ones to just, I think also the TED brand is like that as well. We're not ones to just hear a motivational speech. You have to tell us what to do to change today. That will influence a lot of our picks, but the most important thing is the content. What are you preaching? What are you convicted about? What do you want to share? Is your ideas worth sharing? Which is the whole point of TED. We had a lot of speakers. Our team helped us to pick them. And then we made the choice of the 8. Mm-hmm.
So the one thing I really noticed at the event was all the speakers had memorized everything. And that was very impressive. I'm not sure if I could do that with 15 minutes of talk. And so how did you go about rehearsing and preparing them to do a 15-minute talk without any notes?
So the way TED operates, you have to memorize. TED doesn't allow no flashcards, no teleprompter, none of that. Once they got their talk approved, because there's a lot of steps after they get. There's a lot of steps throughout all this. But once they get selected, we go through a revision where we finalize the talk, make it TED ready. Because a lot of people think once you submit your talk, it has to be stage ready, but that's not necessarily the truth.
If almost be stage ready.
But yeah, definitely it should be almost stage ready, but we do work with the talks once they're selected. We do revisions, make sure that it's perfect or close to perfect, make sure that it's exactly what we want. And then we start the memorization process. They had a lot of time to memorize. We didn't memorize it all in 2 weeks. It was months of memorization. And then once everybody did their memorization, process, we started rehearsing together. We had different workshops for them. We had rehearsal moments for them. We wanted to make sure that we take care of the speakers, because the thing that I like to say, yes, we are TEDx organizers, but really we're dream handlers. We are responsible of making sure people's dreams are actually happening. Behind the scenes, we're handling all of the stuff, but it's one goal. It's 2 goals. One, making sure that the speaker's dreams are actually happening, because people have dreams of giving a TED Talk since day one. So making sure that those dreams are happening. And then the second goal is making sure that our community is impacted. So all these things have to work in tandem to make sure that, this is what makes a good event. The speakers feel like their dreams are accomplished. The community feels like they are impacted. That's it.
Now, what have you learned that you will do differently next year?
I think one thing is that I want to find a better way for us to reach the broader community, because I feel like one thing that we lacked this year is we didn't have as much of support that we could get. And I think it is also from the community itself. A lot of the support that we had were our people, our own families, our own pockets, as opposed to pure Montclair. The reason why we came to Montclair is because we know what Montclair has to offer. I'm not blaming the community, but I think it's something that we need to figure out. How do we communicate with the community in better ways for them to feel compelled to either sponsor, volunteer, or be as interactive? Yes, the community showed up the day of TED,